In northern Gaza, the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas repelled an Israeli aggression inside the Jabalia camp. In Venezuela, the digital campaign Nicolike moves forward to confront the censorship imposed on President Nicolas Maduro in social media. And in Kenya, authorities report over 5 people killed after a landslide in an illegal gold mine. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas repelled an Israeli aggression inside the Jabalia camp in the northern Gaza Strip. Hamas confirmed that the operation was carried out when a group of Israeli uniformed soldiers headed towards the Jabalia camp to carry out illegal incursions. The action was carried out by the Al-Qassam brigades with explosive killings and wounding several Israeli soldiers, but also taking several of them as prisoners. Hamas warned that every day of continued aggression against the Palestinian people in Gaza will have a significantly high cost for Israel. Palestinian resistance movement Hamas, for the first time in 4 months, has claimed responsibility for this attack with missiles to Israeli troops. Hamas said the attack was in retaliation for the Israeli massacres against the Palestinian people. This comes as Israel intensifies its aggressions against civilians in the city of Rafah, south of the Gaza Strip. On the other hand, leaders of the Palestinian resistance have denied Israeli statements about a presumed return to negotiations for a ceasefire in Gaza next Tuesday. They said they do not believe in any serious commitment to negotiations on the part of the occupying army, for they are only seeking to cover up their criminal acts in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian leadership underscored that the Israeli occupation only aims at negotiating the release of the hostages, but Hamas insists prioritizing a halt to daily assassinations and massacres against the civilian population in the Gaza Strip. Israeli occupation forces killed over 81 Palestinians in 8 massacres in the last 24 hours in the Gaza Strip. Health authorities added that 223 people were wounded. Meanwhile, ambulances and rescue teams are providing care to those affected and are working to reach others trapped under rubble or scattered on the roads of the bombed areas devastated by the war, while the Israeli occupation forces continue to obstruct the movement of ambulances and civil defense teams. The latest Palestinian Health Ministry report indicated that more than 35,984 Palestinians have been killed and another 80,643 injured since October 2023, most of them women and children. In this context, Israeli forces also shelled the refugee camp in Jenin, northern West Bank. Occupation forces entered the camp with armored vehicles, including bulldozers. Palestinian authorities denounced that the Israeli regime destroyed the infrastructure of the city and a bakery in the refugee camp. Prior to the bombardment, Israel raided the camp for 2 days, which caused the death of 12 people, including 4 children. Palestinian authorities confirmed on Sunday the entry of a humanitarian aid convoy to the Gaza Strip from Egypt through the Kerem Shalom crossing. According to the Egyptian Red Crescent, about 200 trucks, each carrying between 15 and 20 tons of food, water, and medical supplies, entered the Gaza Strip. This being the first time Egypt has sent aid to the Palestinian territory since Israel seized the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing 20 days ago. The aid will be delivered to the United Nations on the Palestinian side. Despite the arrival of the shipment, authorities warned that the aid reaching the Gaza Strip continues to be insufficient for the Palestinian population affected by the bombings. At least 20 people died in India on a fire at an amusement park in Gujarat state, west of the country. The authorities said it took firefighters an hour to control the fire and begin rescue operations. They confirmed that about 300 people were trapped during the fire and that an inquiry will start right away into the alleged negligence charges against the amusement park owners. Although the investigation has just begun, it is suspected the incident may have been caused by a short circuit in one of the park's attractions.
आज लगभग The fire control room received a call at around 4:30 p.m. regarding the fire incident at the TRP game zone. Fire ambulances rushed to the spot to douse the flames.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Venezuela, the digital campaign Nicolike, an initiative to confront the censorship imposed on President Nicolás Maduro in social media, is advancing. Through the digital platforms, the Venezuelan people respond to the international media blockade aimed at making the massive mobilizations in support of the national government and its policies invisible. Through President Nicolás Maduro's social medias, users will be able to interact with the president and produce digital content with the hashtag Nicolike. This digital mobilization will be a space to align the communication agendas of the country's social and political movements in order to guarantee the re-election of Nicolás Maduro this coming July 28th. In this context, the president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, marked the beginning of the digital campaign Nicolike, publishing through his social media of X that today, Sunday, they are going to defeat censorship and banning in the media, joining efforts and assuming a new attitude and power. For her part, the first combatant, Celia Flores de Maduro, published on her WhatsApp channel a video in support of the digital campaign hashtag Nicolike in order to break the censorship imposed on the accounts of Nicolás Maduro and the Venezuelan people. Likewise, the Minister of Communication, Alfred Nazareth, stated on X that the hashtag Nicolike campaign begins a challenge to break the censorship and banning of President Nicolás Maduro on social media and encourage people to follow Nicolás Maduro's channel on WhatsApp. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil also joined the digital campaign and wrote on the social media X that now everyone is breaking the censorship in the social medias and encourage everyone to follow all the accounts of President Nicolás Maduro, comment with the hashtag Nicolike, like and repost the publication. We will win. In Argentina, police repressed demonstrations near the Córdoba airport on the arrival of President Javier Milei to the nation. The State Workers Association stated that the president's policies are not welcome in any province of the country. Likewise, the union organizations denounced massive layoffs, low salaries, and privatization of companies led by the administration of President Javier Milei. The union denounces that the government is promoting a model of hunger and plundering that affects all citizens. In the framework of this demonstration, the state security forces have deployed a strong police contingent that has attacked the demonstrators. Meanwhile, the mobilizations in the province of Misiones have been going on for 9 days since the workers of the local security forces rejected the offer of a 30% increase. Protests which were joined by the employees of the education sector, among them the teaching staff, in demand of decent salaries. While for their part, health workers affirmed that the proposal is insufficient in view of the increase in the cost of basic necessities. The United Nations has warned about the serious effects of the climate crisis on small island developing states in view of forecasts of rain and flooding for the Atlantic hurricane season, which starts in June. The United Nations World Food Programme said the effects will be varied and requested donor countries to increase funds to anticipate response. The organization also called attention on the post-COVID crisis and on the debt crisis, which has several consequences like a high rate of food insecurity. The World Food Programme says it needs some $95 million for the next 6 months to deal with these situations. In Mexico, authorities activate orange alert due to high temperatures that so far have left at least 48 dead. The Mexican Health Ministry confirmed that approximately 906 people were affected by symptoms associated with weather conditions resulting from the heat wave that is sweeping the country. In this regard, the National Meteorological Service warned that the measures will reach a maximum of 45 degrees in states such as Chiapas, Colima, Durango, Hidalgo, and Puebla, while in the capital it is expected to exceed 34 degrees, for which reason it is recommended that citizens maintain constant hydration, avoid the sun during the peak hours, and wear light clothing. In Brazil, the death toll from the floods in the state of Rio Grande do Sul rose to 165. The state's civil defense confirmed that as a result of the floods, at least 806 people were injured, 64 are missing, and more than 581,000 are homeless. The civil defense report details that some 469 municipalities in the state received damages due to the rains, and more than 2,345 million people are affected by the floods, while authorities warn that due to the rains, the water level will remain close to 4 meters high in the next few days. Health authorities warn that more than 800 suspected cases of leptospirosis are being investigated in the refugee camps in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. Likewise, authorities confirmed that during the month of May, some 54 cases of the disease have been confirmed. 4 people have died from the virus, and 4 other cases are still under investigation. Health agency warned that the cases have multiplied due to contact with water contaminated with urine from rats and other animals suffering from the disease. Authorities recommend citizens to seek immediate medical attention in case of symptoms such as fever, headache, and weakness. We have a fun short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Kenya, authorities report over 5 people killed after a landslide in an illegal gold mine. Heavy rains in Kenya since March led to a landslide in an illegal mine in the northern city of Hilo. According to the authorities, the search continues as it is estimated that there could be other victims under the mud. Illegal miners continue working in spite of the authorities' warning about rains and landslides after weeks of rains in the country. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, over 1.6 million displaced people are living in precarious conditions in the province of Ituri. Authorities say people who fled the armed conflict that broke in 2017 face food shortages and other constraints in refugee camps. They also warn that there are camps that have not received humanitarian aid since February, which makes things worse. Authorities say the shortage of food and medicines has caused the death of some 70 people so far this year due to malnutrition, anemia, and other diseases. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations are warning that they do not have the resources to tend to the over 7 million people displaced by the armed conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In Oceania, the evacuation of French tourists trapped by demonstrations in New Caledonia has begun. The office of the French High Commissioner in New Caledonia said that measures to accompany foreigners and tourists are underway. The first tourists to be evacuated took off on board military planes from the Magenta airfield located in Noumea, heading for Australia and New Zealand. While participants have denounced that the French government takes away visibility from the native inhabitants of New Caledonia, even though they represent over 40% of the population. French authorities arrested at least 173 activists during environmental protests in front of energy company. The French police reported that the demonstrators were trying to interrupt the company's general meeting as they accused Amundi of being one of the main shareholders of the oil giant Total Energy. But when confronted with the police presence near the headquarters, they decided to go to the Montparnasse district where the company is located. The French authority also stated that at the end of the meeting, the facade of the building was sprayed with paint and some windows were broken, leaving 10 injured among the police officers. On the other hand, the Amundi company stated that it will file a complaint due to the violence and the material damages. In Russia, the authorities of the city of Kherson denounced the risk of flooding when the Ukrainian government opened the floodgates of the Dnieper hydroelectric dam. Authorities said province warned that there is a massive discharge of water due to the opening of the floodgates of the dam. The governor of Kherson province, Vladimir Saldo, declared that the massive release of water will continue during the next few days. Local authorities warned that due to the situation, there is a risk of flooding on the islands of the Dnieper River Delta near the mouth of the water flowing back into the Black Sea. The local authorities have declared a state of emergency in the city and have proceeded to the evacuation of villages near the power plant dam because of the risk of flooding. In Spain, sacked Barcelona coach Xavi Hernandez says Saturday he has to accept and respect the decision of the president Joan Laporta, who took the decision to remove the former midfield great on Friday, mere weeks after saying he was delighted Xavi was staying for the final year of his contract. Xavi spoke of the great experience it meant for him to manage the club of his love. He described it as a positive experience despite the difficult road. The Blaugrana coach reviewed the course of his time at the helm of the team with the achievement of 2 titles last season, but making self-criticism of the current season. He thanked the fans for their support and affection and for always being by his side, and who have always shown the same appreciation as when he was a player for the club. He also explained that he will be one more culé in the stand because of being a player or coach. He is a Barcelonista and only wants the best for the club.
The experience has been spectacular, the learning tremendous, and so I can only be happy, satisfied, grateful to the club for the opportunity, and happy to finish tomorrow in the best possible way, with good feelings, trying to play good football and enjoy the last match as part of a coach, which has been an honor and a pleasure. Put simply, yesterday we were with the president. He gave me his reasons why he thinks the club needs a change of coach. I just have to accept it, to respect it, because he's the one who decides everything at the club.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at TeleSUREnglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.